Joining us is Kremu, who is a bioinformatician.
That's right.
What is that?
So I basically just make software for geneticists. It's pretty boring. It's like being a glorified software engineer.
How did you get into that?
That's interesting. So several years ago at a conference, I was pretty critical of some of the presentations there, and a VC came up to me and he said, "Do you think you can do better?" And I go, "Oh, of course I can." So I switched my field entirely over to working on that.
And so you have a lot of hot takes. So you're known as Kremu online.
Yep.
Who is Kremu?
So some people call him the Abraham Lincoln of France. He was responsible for a lot of sort of classical liberal initiatives, very much what you would see among like a lot of the more progressive founding fathers, where he, for example, banned slavery in the French colonies. He did a really interesting thing where he gave the North African Jews the ability to get French citizenship and then come over to France. He emancipated a lot of people and did a lot of interesting things, very pro-market sort of guy, very pro-freedom in general, and just a wonderful historical character from the 19th century.
So you have we have a lot to discuss here. And by the way, I love reading your stuff online. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
It's provocative. It's contrarian. And so you are picking apart our supplement stuff here. So you are a bioinformatician. And so, for example, let's say someone's taking vitamin D. You think that it's probably either overrated or not necessary. Is that right?
Almost certainly overrated. Unless you have osteomalacia, unless you have brittle bones,
Oh, no.
probably nothing is going to happen.
So,
for you.
but people say it's good for mood.
They do.
For depression. Is there's no correlation to that?
There are correlations, and that's the thing. There are tons of correlations.
Why does it not determinative? Causal.
That's the wonderful mystery. So we know that people who are healthy tend to have lots of vitamin D. They have high levels, and people who are unhealthy have low levels. But when you do a real trial where you give people more, or you watch people over time and really carefully and you monitor their levels, there's just no relationship between the levels and changes. There's no effect of the treatment. There's just really nothing there. And when you go really deep into it using like genetic epidemiology methods, like for example, this thing called Mendelian randomization. This is a way that you can get causal information about how drugs work from genetic data. You see nothing. There's just nothing there. For the overwhelming majority of people, there's no effect. It's good that we fortify our food because like we can prevent osteomalacia, the weak bones, brittle bones and stuff. But otherwise, you're just not going to get much benefit.
Do you think does it help with serotonin production?
Maybe in the limit. That's the thing. If you go down to people who are very, very deficient, which is a very small minority,
Sure.
then yes.
So if you're like an old person in a home that hasn't seen the sun,
Maybe.
or has a restricted diet.
Yeah, you'll have to find people who are really weird in terms of just relative to the general population. But for most people, you won't get any benefit.
Interesting. And so, and you say that because the studies don't bear out the conclusion. Not necessarily there's a study that shows that there just hasn't been. Has there been long-term studies done on vitamin D?
Oh yeah, there have been tons of studies. There are hundreds of trials on vitamin D, and they seem to do. It seems to just consistently show practically nothing. But there's a lot of hype because there are tons of studies showing these correlations going, oh, look, people with more vitamin D, they are healthier.
Do you think it's because they have healthier lifestyles and therefore it's the core? Yeah.
I think so.
So they're outside more. And is exercise something that you would say is good?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at least we agree on that.
Absolutely.
So how about sun exposure?
Probably good. I mean, you need it. There's great data showing, I actually know a lot of people in the Bay who they get lamps in their homes to emulate the sunlight.
So is there
winter.
studies about sun exposure?
There are, yeah.
Okay. So, but by getting sun exposure, you might get vitamin D, which might just be an effect of something else that is
That's right.
positive.
Yep. It could be something else that you're getting. Like people who live healthy lifestyles tend to have good vitamin D levels, but supplementing the vitamin D doesn't seem to do much of anything. So
Fascinating.
It's kind of
Not even
backwards.
for testosterone production.
Not really, no. If
You heard that before, I'm sure, though, right?
Oh, I've heard it tons. Yeah, it's funny. There are all these claims, and there's a lot of hype, a huge amount of hype. During COVID, for example, people were saying, oh, vitamin D is going to save you from COVID, and no, nothing
They
of the
say it
sort.
interrupts the cytokine storm or something. I'm going to get all the words.
Cytokine storms.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to get it all screwed up, but yeah.
So like your immune system going into overdrive, they say it disrupts that. No, that's not observed.
How about zinc?
Zinc is great. You need zinc. But if you supplement a bunch, I don't think you're going to get very much unless you're sick. In which case, take it right as soon as you start feeling sick, and it might help a little bit. There is limited stuff on this, but there's still something. There's some indication. And it's not really going to hurt, so why not supplement it? It's also very cheap. So
Yeah, and you can get zinc in meat, but I mean,
absolutely.
steak, right?
You can get pretty much everything you need in meat.
Yeah, so you're not necessarily a vegan proponent.
No, not really. I am a big proponent of lab-grown meat. I advise a lab-grown meat company.
Really?
Yeah, and I like lab-grown meat and all that. And it's going to emulate meat, and I think it'll be great in a few years. But it's just not quite there yet. Like, it's very expensive. And the thing is, I want every vegan to start eating lab-grown meat the moment it's available because they have so many nutritional deficiencies.
Like omega-3s and CoQ10
yes.
and vitamin B.
Absolutely.
Are those the three major ones? Amongst many others, right?
Iron.
Iron is big.
They lack creatinine and creatine. They lack taurine, and like they just lack seemingly everything.
So I was going to ask. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you are a believer in the amino acid benefits, right? So taurine, lysine, do those have potential benefits, or would you get them in your standardized?
You'll
diet?
generally get them from your diet, yeah. And the thing is, if you have a good diet, you're very unlikely to be getting a lot from different supplements. There are limited exceptions. So I think actually a good heuristic is, do bodybuilders use it? And if the answer is, the biggest bodybuilders use it, then it probably is a good supplement. Like testosterone will help you build a lot of muscle.
Sure.
Creatine will genuinely help you put on muscle.
Creatine has
yeah.
cognitive benefits as well.
But especially for people who are vegans, vegetarians, who have restrictive diets, because they lack that stuff and it seems to help them a lot. For people who have normal diets, normal omnivorous diets, they tend not to get very much benefit from creatine.
How about resveratrol?
No.
Why?
Oh man, those studies just did not hold up. There was a fad for a long time in the anti-aging community. Goodness, there was even some fraud there. And
tell me more.
I don't really know too much about it because it's really before my time.
It's still hyped, though.
It is still hyped, which is baffling to me, but it's considered like one of those cautionary tales about hype nowadays. And
is there any downside?
Not really. So it's one of like a lot of supplements, they don't have real big downsides. They just have no upsides. So the downside is you pay for something that doesn't do anything.